For 100 years, we knew the colossal squid existed only because we kept finding chewed-up pieces of them inside sperm whale stomachs. Nobody had ever seen one alive. Then a research sub off the South Sandwich Islands pointed a camera into the dark, and what nobody knew at the time was that the creature drifting past the lens was a baby. The animal has a name and a date attached to it. In 1925, a British zoologist named Guy Coburn Robson examined 2 tentacle fragments recovered from a sperm whale's stomach and described them as belonging to a new species. He called it Mesonecututhis hamiltoni, and the common name that eventually stuck was the colossal squid. The fragments were enough to put the species on the books. They were not enough to put it on a single piece of film. A century would pass between Robson's description and the first live footage of one. In that gap, almost everything the world believed about the animal was assembled from the bodies of the things that had eaten it. The footage that closed the century came from an expedition run by the Schmidt Ocean Institute on board the research vessel Falkor. According to the Schmidt Ocean Institute's release, the encounter happened on March 9, 2025, near the South Sandwich Islands, with a remotely operated submersible called SuBastian. The ROV descended to roughly 600 meters below the surface, deep enough that surface light was already long gone, and a small transparent shape with long delicate arms drifted into frame. The pilots and scientists on the surface kept the camera on it for several minutes. The footage was later confirmed, with the help of squid biologists who reviewed the recording, as the first verified live observation of a colossal squid in its natural environment. The animal in the video was about 30 centimeters long, a foot. According to the Conversation's centennial summary of the encounter, that size makes the individual a juvenile, almost certainly months old rather than years. Mature colossal squid are believed to reach roughly 14 meters from tentacle tip to mantle end. They are thought to be the heaviest invertebrate on Earth. The animal that finally let itself be filmed was, in other words, a baby version of one of the largest soft-bodied animals the planet has ever produced. A creature that, if it survives, will eventually be roughly 50 times the length of the body that swam past the camera. That is not the moment most researchers were waiting for. The expectation, going in, had been that the first live footage, if it ever came, would be of a full adult. Decades of harpooned remains, decades of scavenged carcasses from longline fisheries, decades of partially digested arms pulled out of sperm whale guts had all painted the picture of a giant. A pale 14-meter monster, basketball-sized eyes, a body the rough shape of a torpedo. What drifted into SuBastian's lens was none of that. It was a foot-long, almost transparent infant, with proportions that did not yet match what an adult would look like. According to Smithsonian Magazine's coverage, the eyes were still developing. The hooks on the tentacles, which in an adult are rotating, swiveling structures used for gripping prey, were present but not yet at full size. The body was a sketch of the adult body, drawn at 1/50th scale. Almost everything science had on the colossal squid before March of 2025 came from second-hand evidence. In 1981, a Soviet trawler in the Ross Sea hauled up a partial specimen tangled in its nets. In 2007, a New Zealand longline crew on the vessel San Aspiring brought up a roughly 490-kilogram mature female that had been feeding on a hooked toothfish. According to National Geographic's reporting, that specimen, which was frozen and sent to the Museum of New Zealand Te Papa Tongarewa, became the largest intact colossal squid ever recovered. Te Papa's biologists spent years thawing, examining, and eventually displaying it. The 2007 capture remains the closest thing the world has had to a clean look at the adult body. And even that animal was effectively dying by the time it reached the surface. The light was wrong, the pressure was wrong, the temperature was wrong. None of it told you what the live animal looks like in its own home. The home, as best the data allows anyone to draw it, is the cold, dark water around the Antarctic continental slope. According to the Wikipedia entry on Mesonecututhis hamiltoni, which collects the published literature, adults are believed to live in a band of water from roughly 1,000 to 2,000 meters down, in the Southern Ocean, where temperatures sit near freezing and surface light never arrives. The juvenile that SuBastian filmed was much shallower, at 600 meters, which is consistent with the leading hypothesis that the young live higher in the water column and migrate deeper as they grow. The adult range is partly inferred from where sperm whales, which eat the squid, dive. Sperm whales hunt at exactly that depth, in exactly that water, and they come back to the surface with colossal squid beaks lodged in their stomachs. The beaks accumulate over a lifetime. Some sperm whale stomachs, when examined, have contained hundreds of them. If you are enjoying this little deep-sea puzzle as much as I am, hit subscribe. More stories like this on the channel every week. The basketball eye business is real, by the way. Mature colossal squid have the largest eyes ever measured in the animal kingdom, with diameters around 27 centimeters. The size is not for showing off. It is for collecting the trace amount of light that filters down to 1,000 meters, or detecting the faint bioluminescence given off by the things the squid wants to eat, and the things that want to eat the squid. A larger eye gathers more photons. At that depth, the difference between seeing a sperm whale coming and not seeing one is the difference between living and being digested. The eye is also believed to give the colossal squid one of the widest visual fields of any predator. The tentacle hooks are the other piece of standard equipment. Unlike the giant squid, which uses suction cups, the colossal squid carries rotating hooks at the tips of its 2 longest tentacles and additional hooks along its 8 arms. The hooks swivel on small joints, so when the squid grabs onto prey, the hooks turn with the struggle and dig deeper instead of being shaken loose. According to the conversation, scars consistent with those hooks have been documented on the bodies of sperm whales recovered from Antarctic waters, which is the closest thing science has had to direct evidence of the squid fighting back. The image researchers usually describe is a 14-meter squid with hooks dug into the head of a sperm whale, in pitch dark, 1,000 meters down, the two animals trying to kill each other in a fight no human will ever see. The reason the first verified live footage took 100 years comes down to a combination of habitat and habits. Adult colossal squid live in some of the least surveyed water on Earth. The Southern Ocean is huge, cold, and expensive to send equipment into. Submersibles capable of working at 1 to 2,000 meters shearquarters are recent technology, and the ones available to research crews are usually booked for other projects. The squid itself is believed to avoid the bright lights and loud thrusters of older research subs, which is one reason why the SuBastian footage came at 600 meters rather than deeper. SuBastian runs quietly enough, and the juvenile was unbothered enough that the camera could stay on the animal for an extended period instead of recording a fleeting departure. Researchers expected a giant. They got a 1-foot juvenile instead. Researchers were ready, equipment-wise, for a giant. The Falker expedition was not specifically searching for one species. It was running broader surveys of the South Sandwich Islands biodiversity. And the squid encounter was, as Schmidt Ocean Institute put it, opportunistic. The adult, the one mounted in Te Papa, the one that has been described from sperm whale scars and crashed trawler nets, is still out there somewhere, in dark water, not yet on film. What the world finally got, after 100 years of waiting, was the version of the animal that has barely started growing. A sketch, not a finished portrait. A promise of what the full-sized one looks like, written in transparent skin and undeveloped hookus, drifting past a camera 600 meters below the surface of an ocean that has kept this particular secret since the day Robson named it. The juvenile, after a few minutes in frame, drifted back out of the cone of light from SuBastian. The pilots watched it disappear. The scientists on the surface watched it disappear, and the colossal squid, the species, went back to being almost entirely invisible, only now with the addition of a few minutes of moving footage attached to its name. Somewhere deeper, the adult version of the same animal is presumably still doing what it has been doing the whole time. Hunting in the dark, fighting sperm whales, producing the beaks that the next generation of biologists will eventually pull out of stomach contents. The next time one passes a camera, it might be the full-sized creature. It might be another juvenile. It might be another century. The footage from March of 2025 closes one gap and opens a much larger one. If you found this fun, there are more stories like this on the channel. See you in the next video.